whereas market economics is all about productive efficiency. Right? I've heard this very nice story about how the Japanese go on strike, especially in the footwear industry. The Japanese, when they go on strike, especially, they don't allow the production to stop. The production continues. What they do is they only make one side shoes or chappals. So you have to wait for another couple of years till you get the other pair. Right? Meaning, what do you mean by productive efficiency? What do you mean by allocative efficiency? I said health economics is all about allocative efficiency. What is efficiency, by the way?
It's more in terms of inputs.
Moved in terms of
Inputs.
inputs. What with the inputs?
Using the inputs appropriately.
Using the inputs appropriately, yes, okay. What else? Squeeze the inputs so as to get the maximum output. Right? You maximize your outputs through a unit input. Whether it is human resource, whether it is an equipment, whether it is whatever it is. When you are talking of efficiency, you are talking about the process. Right? When you are talking of effectiveness, you are talking about the result. Prashanti says outcomes. It's exactly right. You are talking about the result. You can be efficient, operation successful, patient dead. That's efficiency. Right? You can be very efficient, do your surgeries, do everything properly, etc. But if your results are bad, nobody cares about your efficiency. Yeah? What you care about is your... So you try to become effective and efficient, but when you increase efficiencies, effectiveness to a little extent behave differently, inversely proportional to each other. But your intention is to make sure that you get the best outcomes with the most efficient of means. So in health economics, we talk about something called as allocative efficiency. We are worried about distributing resources which are there with us properly. So as public health people, as ENT surgeons, as speech therapists and all those kind of things, sometimes you have to make a decision. There will be a lot of people who come and tell you that, sir, equipment shall we buy this equipment? Shall we buy that equipment? Shall we build a new ward? Shall we take a new, can we recruit a new person, etc. Right? That's a decision which you have to make with respect to seeing whether that resource will be used optimally, if not maximum. Right? Investment decision making depends on both efficiency as well as effectiveness. Last terminology, equity, equality. What is the difference? Somebody told me I know the difference, sir. They said the only difference is the spelling difference. That apart, what is the difference between equity and equality? We said we want to be equitable or we want to be equal?
Equitable.
Why?
Equitable where we are giving to the person who are in need.
Yes.
By giving that we are making that equal level. But equality is that
The more people who are rich
Yes.
will get more,
Yes.
and people who are poor will also get that particular.
Which is biased?
Biased is equality.
Biased is equity.
Equity.
Because it's need based.
Yeah.
The poorest will try and give. When I say biased, it doesn't mean a bad bias always. It also means bias towards being more fair.
Yeah.
Right? Ensuring fairness. And that's precisely what we try and do. Right? Wherein you are talking about, say if I have $100 with me, if there are 30 poor people, 70 poor people and 30 rich people, I don't have to give anything to the rich people. I give all the 100 rupees to the poor people. Right? Because they need it more. Your intention is to make sure that this 70 and this 30 come to the same sort of level playing field. Right? Whereas if you want to be equal, you give 30 to them, 70 to them. So that's precisely what the difference between equity and equality is. And there are different, horizontal, vertical and all those kind of things. But for all of this becomes extremely important when we are talking about health economics, and that's precisely what I'll take you through in the next sort of 20 minutes or so. So we've looked at terminologies. Do you have any doubts with respect to terminologies? I've discussed just a few terminologies which are very important. Is there any doubt with respect to understanding the terminology?
No.
Shall I go further then?
Yes.
Yeah, I know T is also waiting. I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, economics is called as the science of scarcity. I always thought economics was an art, but they call it the science of scarcity. I'm beginning to believe it more and more. Right? The meaning that this word becomes extremely important. The word scarcity becomes extremely important. The reason being, it's all about resources being limited, needs being unlimited. So when you want to meet all your needs with the available resources, it's practically not possible. Because for every resource, there will be competing demands. Right? Like I said, if you have a budget, 10 people will come and stand in front of your room and say, sir, buy me this piece of equipment. Somebody will say, I need to recruit a new person. Please, we'll set up a new ward. We'll do an outreach program. Arey, why are you giving one hearing aid to one person? We will go and do a school screening program and identify children with CSOM or ASOM. You know? So there are competing demands with respect to finite resources, and that's the basic principle on which this economics and especially health economics is based on. That's why it's called the science of scarcity. It's both an art and science. I think that's the consensus with respect to things. So when we are talking about health economics, what we are trying to do is, we are looking basically at a discipline that determines the price and quantity of limited financial and non-financial resources devoted to the care of the sick and promotion of health. So you're looking at resources, both financial and non-financial, how the way you will use it for care of people. Right? That's precisely what health economics is all about. I said these are basic notions, or these are the guidelines on which health economics is based on. Right? What is the first guideline? It says needs are unlimited wants but limited resources. I told you the science of scarcity. You can't meet everybody's needs with the resources which you have. If we had that, we wouldn't be sitting here and discussing health economics at all. Right? We will be doing something else. Right? In terms of looking at unlimited sort of wants but limited resources. And when we are talking about health economics, we are not only talking about costs, we are also going to be talking about benefits or outcomes. So it's comparing costs as well as your consequences. So it's all about how do you maximize your benefits with the minimum amount of resources or costs. And please do understand that when we are talking of health economics and with the social determinants coming in, the social determinants of health, etc. coming in, and you heard about the session of CBR and where you are talking of livelihoods, social inclusions, empowerment, etc., etc. Any benefit which you will produce or any cost which you will incur doesn't only stay within the health sector or within the hospital. It has an implication which is wider. The ramifications of health economics are much more. Like for instance, for somebody who has hearing impairment, the chances of accessing opportunities of education are difficult. The chances of being able to make own decisions in terms of autonomy and empowerment becomes extremely difficult. That's what I meant to say, that it's not just restricted to the health sector. It's restricted, it's very broad based, and we have to understand that health economics looks at both costs and consequences beyond the four walls of a facility or a hospital. There is no choice to make choices. Right? You understand what I said? Means that you have to make choices, and these choices have to be based on certain value judgments. That's what we call as evidence-based decision making. Right? Everybody now talks about evidence, whether you go to a court or whether you go to a hospital. Everywhere, only evidence. Right? So evidence-based decision making. So health economics also, you have to make decisions, and these decisions Our choices have to be based on certain value judgments. And what's the difference between market economics versus health economics? What is the difference you think between market economics and health economics?
Market economics we can measure.
You can?
Measure.
You can measure even in health economics.
But non-this we can't measure.
Now what is the principle behind markets? Profiteering. But what is the principle behind health economics? Well-being, happiness, quality of life, etc. I think it's extremely important to understand that you can't apply all that which you use in market economics to the field of health economics. That's why I said one is logical, the other one is emotional. So it's you can't apply everything, you can't make everything 2 plus 2 equal to 4 when it comes to health economics. And consideration of costs are not necessarily unethical. So today somebody may get up and say, he said you're talking about rights-based model, this model, that model, etc., etc. When you're talking about the rights, what rights do you have to talk about costs? It's a given that everybody has to deserve a good quality healthcare. Everybody deserves this, everybody deserves that. But unfortunately, we don't have the resources to meet everybody's needs. In which case, we have to start talking of costs. And when you're going to be talking of costs, when I say costs, you're talking of, are you going to benefit many or are you going to benefit few? Are you going to be causing more harm or are you going to cause more benefit? That's a decision which you have to make. And these decisions are not unethical decisions. They are very, very ethical decisions. Very interesting in terms of looking at health economics. In health economics, whether you use a cochlear implant or whether you use a hearing aid, right? Both of them improve hearing abilities or functional outcomes in terms of able to perceive better in terms of hearing. But what are you looking at in terms of whether hearing aid is better or cochlear implant is better? Cochlear implant needs good skills, needs facilities, needs a lot of resources in terms of financial resources, needs proper selection of patients, needs highly skilled human resources, etc. As compared to hearing, both of them do the same thing. So in health economics, what we look at is, we look at the healthcare related to what are called as these marginal changes and not the total activity. Both of them improve hearing, but what we are looking at is whether one is better than the other in improving the hearing. That is precisely what we look at, and these are called as changes or marginal changes. I don't have to repeat, especially to tell you, health impacts other facets of development. So provision of healthcare is one way of improving the health of populations, right? I probably have this dilemma, and I'm sure many of you in this room have this dilemma. Why is that we'd like to get our salaries on the first day of the month and pay all our bills on the last day? Even after the grace period is over. Why is that we have that tendency? Is it true or not? If it is not true, please go and put up a tent or some next to Rajghat and stay there. He said, we would like to get our salaries on the first day. We would like to pay our bills on the last day. That's what I meant by saying, as a community, we prefer to postpone costs and to bring forward benefits. Why is that? Is it true or not? Sridhar will disagree. No. Is it true?
Yes.
Why, what happens? What is the tendency? What is the tendency in terms of why is human attitude or human mentality very much sort of embraces this principle of postponing costs and bringing forward benefits? That's a very important aspect related to health economics, which actually describes a principle which we call as discounting, right? Like for instance, if I'm going to be looking at cardiovascular disease program, and if I'm going to be looking at things like behavioral change communication or a preventive program versus carrying out, what do you call that procedure? CABG. CABG or CABG. Okay, if you want to look at a comparison of a curative program and a preventive program, right? You know the benefits of a preventive program do not occur tomorrow, but for somebody who's undergone an open heart surgery, the benefits are seen tomorrow. He looks like as though he's got a new heart, right? But you require to invest in both the preventive program as well as the curative program. But in order to make the decision, you have to know how long will it take for this preventive program to become successful, and what is it the value of the preventive program today. So you have to bring forward what are called as future costs and future benefits to today, because you need to compare between a preventive program and a curative program. That is what is creating level playing field. How many of you lend money for interest? I know all of us take money for interest. But how many of us lend? How many of you have tried to lend money for interest, or at least know about this principle? Discounting is reversal of compound interest calculations, right? So when you lend money or when you borrow money, you take it on a particular interest, like mortgages for that matter. But discounting is a principle which you use to bring future costs and future benefits to current time frame in order to compare between costs and consequences. If I am able to discount and understand what a preventive program is going to bring benefits which occurs 20 years down the line, like for instance we are talking of smoking cessation program, right? Today there is a big thing in the paper which says that 80% of the cigarette pack should have those dreadful, grotesque sort of pictures, right? One of the ways of making sure that people stay away from those cigarettes, right? Packets will stay away, cigarettes will not. Right? But in essence, what we are looking at is when we want to compare a program which is preventive versus a curative program, we want to know the benefits of a preventive program today as compared to a curative program. In which case, this principle of bringing forward the future costs and future benefits and creating a level playing field occurs. And there is what is called as a positive time preference. You think that holding on to money appreciates the value of the money. That's why you hold on to it. He said, if I pay my bills on the last day, I have that amount of money in my pocket which can be used for another good cause. And that's precisely the principle on which it works. Yeah, just to tell you that equity in healthcare is desirable, but reducing inequalities usually come at a value, right? You would like to get equity, but when you're going to be creating that equitability, you're going to be losing out on resources, or you have to create inequalities, and that comes at a particular price, right? So in essence, the whole principle or the whole, health economics is based on the principle of what is called as opportunity cost, which means that if you use a resource which is both time, people, facility in one area, it involves a cost, right? That is, the opportunity to use it to produce benefits in another area must be foregone. That is, the next possible alternative use of that resources is foregone, meaning you've been asked to go and attend this public health planning for hearing impairment course, right? It's an opportunity for you. You think whether you have come on choice or whether you've been coerced, I don't know. But I can tell you that you saw some value in attending this program, but you missed the opportunity of spending time in your clinic, looking after your patient, probably staying with your families, doing some other competing sort of priority work. That is the principle of opportunity cost, meaning every resource has a particular value. If you spend it in one particular way, you lose the choice to spend it in another way. And that's the whole principle of opportunity cost. Now, if I put my resources into deafness control program, I know for sure that a polio program may be compromised. If I put my resources into tuberculosis, I know that I will lose out on putting my resources into malaria. So I have to be judicious in terms of saying, how much do I put in TB, how much do I put in malaria, how much do I put in deafness, how much do I put in blindness. So these are sort of decisions which had to be made, and everything is based on the principle of what is called as opportunity cost. Are you clear? Right? Let me go further. So when I talk about economic evaluation, I am talking about comparing alternative courses of action in terms of both their costs as well as consequences. Very nicely too. This is something I invented so that you can probably understand it much better. I said the 4 C's characterize an economic evaluation. What are these 4 C's? You are comparing interventions, 2 or more interventions with each other. You are comparing them in terms of both their inputs, which are your costs, as well as your outputs or outcomes in terms of your consequences, and then you make a choice. So it's comparison of costs and consequences, and then choosing the best intervention in the provided circumstance is what is called as an economic evaluation, which in essence drives us to looking at all the, I told you, choices are all about decision making and limited resources. So economic analysis helps you in terms of making those decisions. Very quickly, you're looking at, that alternative which is most efficient from an economic perspective. You choose an alternative which is most efficient from an economic perspective. If you have the choice of putting a hearing aid in one child or 10 children screened for a suppurative otitis media program, you have to choose between 1 hearing aid and 10 screening. That's a decision you have to make. So you will take a decision based on what if I put it for treating 1 child, which may be your decision, which may be a justifiable decision, or what if I screen for 10 children. So that is based on certain value judgments you do, and that is precisely what you will look at when you are making those decisions. So it's useful for all these people, planners, most of you would probably, third party payers, the insurance people always behind you to tell you what premiums to set and how and all those kind of things. Hospital administrators worried about investment, equipment, recouping investment, what returns does it bring. Physicians to plan and provide services in terms of looking at cost of services, whether how do I deal with a rural patient who is coming 200-300 kilometers to see me, or an urban patient who is coming, who is just next to me. Do I have to treat him differently? Does distance make a difference? So all those are determinants which will help you make a decision. So whether we should do universal screening of all newborns or whether we should do only targeted screening of newborns are questions